Greetings, friends. Welcome to the What's Right show on the go. Sam Mirejovsky here. Yes, usually on News Talk 840 KXNT, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. I will be back at my desk, at my studio in Las Vegas on Thursday. So just 2 days away from everything being back to normal. Tomorrow, by the way, bit of housekeeping. Unfortunately, no show on the go. Because I'm not just on the go, I'm like extra on the go tomorrow. I will be making the long flights back to Las Vegas from where I'm at, which is in the middle of nowhere, pretty much. I'm almost actually, if I look hard enough, if I squint this direction towards the beach that I've been enjoying past week, I can almost see Venezuela. I mean, I can't actually see that, but it's that close. All right, so I am, it's going to be a long flight home is my point. So tomorrow, no show. Sorry, I will be out of pocket. And I predict there will be a lot that happens. The good news is that on Thursday, we'll have a full 2 hours to go through everything on air live on the station. And also, of course, the podcast. And we're going to continue doing this video thing. So if you've signed up for Twitter, and I see a number of you have and have begun following me, this is the hot ticket in town, is following at What's Right Show on Twitter. So I'm going to continue putting this program up for you to enjoy as we continue back into our regular routine of on-air appearances. Now, another thing, I got some emails from you folks. And by the way, email sam@samandashlaw.com. This is not the same pink shirt I had yesterday, and it's not the same pink shirt I had before. I have like 6 or 7 of these, all slightly different, but alike somehow, pink golf shirts. And yeah, so no, I'm not wearing the same shirt all the time. I am mixing it up, folks, I promise. So don't be alarmed. Okay. All right. I got to tell you something. Some time ago, said that now that Trump has won the election, the hunters would become the hunted. But even before I made that prediction, even before Donaldus Maximus carried the day on November the 5th, something else was going down in Fulton County, Georgia. Now, I would say, and I made this prediction some time back, I told you that the prosecutor down there, Fani Willis, or Fani. She calls herself Fani. Trump calls her Fani. So I guess we'll go with Fani. Ed, by the way, I hear you. I know you told me to call her Fani from the very beginning. Ed is a dear friend and a longtime listener of the program. Would text me and tell me, why are you calling her Fani? Call her Fani, not Fani. Anyway, so Fani Willis, folks, I told you that this was not going to be good for her. I told you that there would be problems here. I told you that she may very well end up getting disbarred. And with every passing week, every passing month, my prediction seems to be more and more likely. Now, I'll tell you what the latest developments are. You know, her disastrous reign as the prosecutor in the highly corrupt Fulton County, Georgia, it's not just, her criminality is not just limited to Trump. Now, the big news today, actually, there's 2 bits of big news. One relates to Trump slightly. The other one does not. Both are bad for Fani Willis. So Judicial Watch just won a huge lawsuit victory in their effort to, under the open records lawsuit that they filed, to obtain communications between Fani Willis and federal prosecutors, people inside Jack Smith's office, as well as her communications with the J6 House Committee. She's refused to turn those records over, by the way. It's been a big saga. And Judicial Watch, who has a long history of going after public, figures and politicians and requesting records under federal law, they're entitled to the records. They basically said, we've done this for 30 plus years. We've never had anybody treat us the way Fani is. And Fani Willis just says, I'm not going to comply. I'm not turning these records over. And here's the issue. Now the court has ordered her to release these records. They've given, by the way, Judicial Watch attorneys' fees and costs, and that is a burden that now is carried by the taxpayers down there in Fulton County. It's starting to get real bad. She's hiding this. She's hiding this the same way that she was hiding her stuff when she was grilled on the stand by Trump lawyers and his co-defendants' lawyers there in that much publicized disqualification hearing. So she's hiding the ball in these communications. We all know that this witch colluded with Jack Smith and his team. We know she colluded with, Democrats in Congress who were trying to get Trump. We know that she was thick in this thing, all right? Knees deep in this, all right? And she's hiding it. Again, when you are an attorney, it's different than when you're just a politician. When you are a licensed attorney, particularly when you are a licensed attorney who, in your capacity as a licensed attorney, are serving as a chief law enforcement officer of a county, let's say, as a prosecutor, or even just as a line prosecutor, you have very specific fiduciary duties. And it's not just moral obligation, you have ethical obligations that you must uphold, or else you lose your license to practice law. And I'm convinced, the more I see this little kind of boring story about her losing an open records lawsuit with Judicial Watch, I'm telling you what this is going to mushroom into. See, the Georgia Supreme Court already is pissed at her. And it was this was a superior court judgment, okay? But I got to tell you, remember, they are still considering all the disqualification stuff. They've halted, the Georgia Supreme Court has, her entire case against Trump and his co-defendants. And they are now meticulously, right? The top court in the state of Georgia is meticulously combing through various documents, evidence, interviewing witnesses. And right? This is a lady who swore in court that she reimbursed her lover, Nathaniel Wade, with cash, and the cash just materialized out of thin air. This was cash that she could have no accounting for how it came about. She had lots of cash. It was left over from the campaign, because that's what we do. I mean, the whole thing is a disaster that is getting worse by the day. And I can't think as much. Of course, I want, Jack Smith to burn in hell. I want every one of the federal judges in D.C. who have sentenced these Americans who went to the Capitol, who protested at the Capitol, who did so peacefully, to basically years-long jail sentence. I want each one of those judges to burn in hell and have their law license revoked and be kicked off the bench. I want punishment and retribution. But at the top of my list is this miserable cretin who gives every single one of us who practices law in the United States an awful name. And by that, I mean Fani Willis. So the other case, nothing to do with Trump, but just kind of a funny aside. There's a very high-profile trial that Fani Willis led down in Fulton County against a musician. Robbie, I wouldn't know this guy's music if it hit me upside the head. Apparently, his name is Young Thug. So, I'm bringing it up because they were trying to get this prosecution under the RICO. It's the same kind of case that they have against her. The whole thing was nonsense. The long and the short of it is, the case ended in acquittal. The jury didn't buy any of her crap. And at one point, the best part in this case is that his lawyer, a guy named Brian Steele, I think was his name, found out, this is how corrupt things are in Fulton County, found out that Fani Willis's prosecution department, right, her office, had an ex parte hearing, meaning a hearing just between themselves with the judge. In the trial, the prosecutors, Fani Willis, her team, had a secret meeting with the judge. The defense lawyer asked the judge about it. Says, Judge, I understand you had a meeting here. I understand you met with the prosecutors to discuss this case, and we weren't notified of it. Now, just quick, background lawyer stuff. That's a big no-no. Like, you can't do that. If you are a judge and one side requests to speak to you about the case, you have to notify the other party. And having an ex parte meeting without the other party present requires some, procedural notice. All right. None of that happened, of course. This was a secret meeting intended to hide, no doubt, some shenanigans, as we would say in the law. So what happened? So the lawyer, this guy named Brian Steele, goes to the judge. Your Honor, I understand that this meeting happened between you and the prosecutor's office. And the judge looked at him and goes, how did you find that out? Lawyer goes, that doesn't matter how I found it out. I found out. I don't have to tell you. Did it happen? Judge, did it happen? And you would not believe what happened next in Fulton County, Georgia. The judge arrested the lawyer. He literally had the lawyer handcuffed and led out of the court. This, of course, led for there was an immediate rebuking by the Georgia Supreme Court. They reversed the contempt order, and I bet you this judge is going to end up disbarred himself. Like, it's just, this is how it operates down there in Fulton County. And why does it matter to you, to me, and to anybody else in the country concerned with Trump and concerned with, with justice? It matters because I'm telling you, and I've said this a while, all these people that went after Trump are high on their own supply. They're no different from the drug dealers that use their own stuff. They are so determined that they were on the right side of getting Trump, that Trump was the worst person, that they had the accolades of the media and of the Vox Populi. Everybody was behind them. But these are people that are morally corrupt. And they're not just morally corrupt when it comes to Trump, right? These judges in DC that are putting away these, MAGA protesters from January 6th, these judges didn't just suddenly wake up and be absolute a-holes. They were like this always. They are not apolitical only when it comes and with everything else, and highly political partisan when it comes to Trump. They've always behaved this way. And this era of Trump lawfare, this era of going after and prosecuting Americans for, political protest at the end of the day, turning misdemeanors into serious felonies, getting rebuked by the Supreme Court and still doing it anyway. This era has laid bare the corruption. And people like Fani are going to burn because they're corrupt in their other dealings too. It's just that the Trump thing shone a spotlight on her. We wouldn't care about some rapper trial in Georgia and arresting his defense lawyer. We wouldn't even be talking about it really outside of maybe lawyer circles. But it has gained national prominence and attention because Fani Willis decided that she was going to be a celebrity. So did Jack Smith. So did Alvin Bragg. So did Letitia James. And these people are in deep SHI, you know what. And I just cannot wait. I cannot wait for retribution because it's coming and justice will be merciless. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840. Quick break. Be right back. This hour, What's Right show on the go is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos,
greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Greetings, friends. Welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky here, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian. We are, well, let's see. This is, I don't know what day of our What's Right show on the go this is, but it's been fun. And I've been very happy to at least keep a little bit in touch with you as I'm out of the office, not doing the regular show, but we can still keep in touch about what's going on. By the way, as of right now, in the moment, following the jury, no news yet from New York, Daniel Penny, the young Marine who put into a chokehold a raving lunatic that was threatening people on the subway back in May of 2023. You know the story. He, of course, was promptly arrested by Alvin Bragg. Speaking of prosecutors gone wild, Alvin Bragg arrested him because, of course, racism. Penny is white. Neely, the man he put in a chokehold who eventually died, is black. There's no other explanation for it other than Penny is a racist. So the jury is out on this. I don't know how this goes. By the way, I could foresee a hung jury. I really could. I have a very low meaning of juries in New York City, but you're going to find at least one or two people who will not want to convict because these people ride the subway and see the kind of lunatics that are there. I'd be very surprised to see a clean acquittal, meaning not guilties across the board. Now, a hung jury ends the case for now. He can refile the charges or have a second trial. But remember, too, that Alvin Bragg there is sort of on thin ice, and there are a number of challengers stepping up to remove him from office. I think there's a strong chance he does not get reelected in New York. So we'll see how this goes. I'll do a full postmortem on this case as soon as we have a verdict. And of course, as a reminder, no show tomorrow. I will be traveling back to Las Vegas. Robbie reminded me here during the break, too, that just to be absolutely accurate about what happened down in Atlanta, Fulton County, where the young thug trials, YSL, so the two guys that got acquitted were not YSL. There's one guy named Diamante Kendrick, and he raps as Yak Gotti. Yak Gotti. Okay. And then also somebody named Shannon Stillwell. So these were co-defendants, I guess, some time ago in this sweeping RICO indictment by Fani Willis. These, I don't know. I guess there were like 28 people who got swept up in it. This was a big celebrity case. Again, Fani Willis looking to make a name for herself. So one guy pled guilty. He's out on, I guess, yeah, young thug, I think, is out on, got pled guilty and he's out on probation. This whole thing is just fizzling. And it's been a comedy show from beginning to end. So anyway, well, just to be clear, it wasn't, I want to be very specific about who it was that was acquitted. But in any event, it was absolutely a black eye for Fani Willis yet again. Okay. What else is going on? I have to tell you, who's excited? Who is excited for January 20th? Me? I can't wait. And one of the things I can't wait for is the immediacy with which Trump action is going to, swing into effect. The top thing, of course, is going to be border controls. Trump is getting ready to come in and immediately securing the border by any means possible, declaring emergencies where needed. He may very well declare a national emergency. He's mentioned that. The executive orders to achieve that are being prepped. They're being drafted as we speak. We are what, Robbie, 48 days away from Trump assuming the presidency. So 48 days until the 20th of January. That is close, folks. We can do this. We can hang in there. So this is, in other words, but December is the last full month with no Trump. And Trump, by the way, I don't know if you noticed this. This is an aside. Just every person that is like-minded, that is excited about the Trump presidency, says to me the same thing when I say, oh, it's 52 days, it's 51 days, it's 48 days. They tell me the same thing, and that is, I hope he makes it. And, of course, yeah, I do too. I mean, it's touch and go. There were some scary near misses over the summer. One thing that is important to note, it seems to me he's a lot less vulnerable now than he was during the campaign, because during the campaign, he was doing all the rallies and he's going to, rural areas, open areas. The amount of exposure that Trump had, just risk to harm that he put himself into, he had to put himself into by virtue of campaigning, I think was immense. I'm noticing, again, I'm not following him day to day, but he's been staying put at Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago has been fortified, should be fairly secure. So again, harder to hurt him there. People have been coming to see him. He is planning to travel to France. That was news today. Trump announcing that he would travel to the opening of Notre Dame, the cathedral that burned a few years back. Suspicious fire. A lot of churches, by the way, suspiciously catching on fire. And nobody in France is allowed to say that it might just be Islam. You can't say it. You cannot say that. Do you know how many? Just like 1,000 churches, certainly hundreds in France that have recently, mysteriously had fires. So either it's just very bad luck, or something's more sinister is afoot. And there are reports, certainly, of Muslims, of these refugees that are led in the country who are doing damage to symbols of Christianity. So, just saying something that isn't talked about. Trump traveling to France, so hopefully he will be safe there. I hope he doesn't go for a swim in the Seine River. I know they cleaned it up for about 3 days in advance of the Olympics. So the river normally very, very dirty. So they cleaned it up for the Olympics. And of course, the minute that the swimmers go in, they all get sick. So way to go, France. Hopefully, again, everything goes well there. Now, speaking of our own border problem, the border remains quite open. I know there was some noise about Biden saying, okay, we're gonna secure it. We recognize your problem. Biden doesn't care. He's off pardoning Hunter. He's flying around the world now doing his last farewell tour. He's irrelevant. And the Democrats are trying to get as many people into the country, and I suspect working offline privately to legalize as many of these folks that they've let in. So there's going to be some confusion, I think, in the early days of the Trump presidency. One thing that is not going to be confusing in the least is where our borders stands on things. Now, Tom Homan, this guy is an absolute unapologetic beast when it comes to the border. And he's going to close things down on day one, but he's also going to begin investigating all the NGOs, the non-government organizations that were paid millions and millions of taxpayer money to human traffic illegals around the country. So here is Homan on Fox talking about precisely this and what he intends to do.
I tell you what, the Trump team coming to town, we're going to take control January 20th, and people are going to be held accountable. We're going to be very transparent. We're going to get behind What did the United Nations have to do with this open border crisis? Who in the administration, the Biden administration, opened the doors on this humanitarian crisis? What NGOs were involved in this? We're going to be very transparent to American people, and we're going to tell them the truth what happened on this border. Again, by design, and we're going to let the American people know who was involved, why, and hold them accountable.
I don't know. I have no comment to this. It's great. Now, again, I mean, and I have to look, I love the Catholic Church, but even Catholic charities are exposed here. They took a lot of money and they shipped a lot of people around the country. And they became vessels of the Democratic Party, the Biden administration's efforts to distribute as many illegals around the country as possible. And it is truly, these truly were the handmaidens of the Democrats in their efforts to diversify the country and to violate federal law. So because look, again, I don't know how many people Biden intends to pardon in advance of leaving office. He's going to take care of his inner circle. Just how far that extends, I don't know. But the legal liability here is immense. And why do I find this legal liability intriguing? I'll tell you. One of the top reasons is that these violations didn't occur just in Washington, D.C. I remain somewhat skeptical of Trump, the Trump administration 2.0 being able to go in and arrest, but successfully prosecute wrongdoers in Washington, D.C. because of who the jurors are and the judges. It's going to be difficult to do. Where the nexus of criminal liability takes cases outside of Washington, takes cases to Texas, Oklahoma, right? Rural parts of Pennsylvania that have proven a little more red. All of a sudden, guess what? Those juries are a little different, no? Those juries are going to be a little bit more even-tempered, a little bit more fair, and are much more likely to deliver convictions. And so even if these entities are based in DC or are based in New York or wherever, the relevant actors can be hauled into the jurisdictions where they brought people, where they moved people, where the crime occurred, right? That's where you file a case. That's where you prosecute a case. So this is actually going to be very interesting. Now, we've been following a little bit some of the stuff going on in Great Britain. Great Britain has devolved into tyranny. I recently, my daughter was here with us on vacation over Thanksgiving. She left a few days ago to go back to Europe. And parting with her, I said, hey, do you have time to read a book between now and Christmas? She's a big reader. And I gave her, of course, 1984, one of my favorite books. I gave her my copy and I said, really read this. Think about it. And what I told her is I said, it was written in the 50s, right? But about 1984, a year far in the future. Now, it didn't happen in this book. I told her what happened in this book. It didn't happen by 1984, but it definitely happened by 2024. This is now. But one thing that Great Britain has done and other countries in Europe has done is they are like the Democratic Party is in the US on steroids. Imagine a place where the people inside the Obama and Biden administrations have run rampant and virtually unrestricted for decades. Now that is the disaster that Europe is living with. And it's not just free speech that is completely out the window. Done. I mean, you don't have it in Great Britain. There are terrible, terrible reports. People out there waving British flags. And because it's deemed to be offensive to newly arrived Islamic immigrants, those British people waving British flags are arrested and imprisoned. And that's not an exaggeration. Things like that are happening, even worse things. But it also has to do not just with, obviously, free speech, but it has to do with the way immigration is treated. And Europe has committed suicide with how many people from trash countries they have let into their own societies and have not been particularly effective at getting these people to integrate. Now, Keir Starmer, who is might go down in history as one of the worst prime ministers ever, recently gave a little talk talking about diversity and immigration. And he basically admits that it was all part of a plan and scheme to do what we fear. And when we talk about these NGOs that have shipped people all around the country here in the US, we talk about what the Democrats have done with flinging open our southern border. Here's Keir Starmer admitting that's all one grand political strategy. Listen.
What the British people are owed is an explanation. Because a failure on this scale isn't just bad luck. It isn't a global trend or taking your eye off the ball. No, this is a different order of failure. This happened by design, not accident. Policies were reformed deliberately to liberalise immigration. Brexit was used for that purpose, to turn Britain into a one-nation experiment in open borders. Global Britain. Remember that slogan? That is what they meant. A policy with no support, and which they then pretended wasn't happening.
Now, he's trying to blame Brexit for this, which is a load of crap because this was all going down under the EU. But yes, the British left used Brexit and let even more people in an effort to further their cause of multiculturalism. It's all part of a plan. They did this. They created it. And we are so lucky in this country. I cannot even begin to tell you how fortunate we are that we were able to turn the spigot off, that we are about to do that we are 48 days away from shutting down the border. And incidentally, speaking of another progressive moron in the British sphere of influence, Justin Trudeau flew down to Mar-a-Lago to meet with Trump. I guess, I don't know if you heard this, people are reporting that Trudeau was complaining about the sanctions, the tariffs that Trump was going to impose. This is going to ruin Canada. Mr. President, you can't do this to us. And Trump, according to multiple sources, looked Trudeau dead in the eyes and said, well, you know what? If you can't afford to not rip off the U.S. to the tune of $100 billion a year, then maybe you need to just accept becoming America's 51st state. And we can make you the governor of the state of Canada. Absolutely savage. And yes, I believe he said it. Now, shortly after that meeting, Trudeau did confirm that they were going to take extra measures to secure the U.S.-Canadian border, something Trump has long wanted. And if you'll remember Vivek Ramaswamy talking about this issue during the primary, during the campaign, everybody's focused on the southern border, the U.S.-Mexico border, but the U.S.-Canadian border, much longer, much more porous, and equally dangerous for us in terms of fentanyl and human smuggling, trafficking operations. So there it is. I mean, it's on the table. Things are already happening. Trump already bringing foreign leaders to the carpet, calling them to Mar-a-Lago and smacking them around. It's a beautiful thing to see. So it's going to be, I don't know. I'm very excited about what is yet to come. Friends, I'll see you on Thursday. We'll get to everything then. In the meantime, keep the faith. And I promise you, get the popcorn ready, because in 48 days, things are going to start happening. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right Show is brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. My email, sam@samandashlaw.com. See you on Thursday.